Yeah, and decided to use their drawings instead of those colorful animation. They're very simple controls.
Well, the idea for the animation, my thinking about that animation, firstly, I wanted to figure out how do I, a lot of the material is text, is written material. So then how do you make it visual? And Bill Genovese, Kitty's brother, the film is about, as you know, the film is about a brother trying to unravel the truth about the mythic death and basically forgotten life of his sister Kitty Genovese, who's one of the most famous murder victims in the last half century in America. And I was trying to think, how do I make visual what Bill Genovese is finding along the way? And he used these whiteboards, these dry erase boards, to keep a track of his journey. And so I figured that's the sort of starting point for any animation. It should use that idea. And I tried to imagine if Bill could draw, which he can't, but if he could draw, what might his drawings look like? They wouldn't be fully formed animation. They would be more sketch, more pieces, fragments. And in a way, that's what the truth is. It's sort of, you put together little pieces, fragments to create, it's collage. So the film, the animation, has line drawings coupled with actual newsprint, with notations of distance. It's pieces, a photograph that he may have found in the book of the actual witness who, one of the witnesses, for example, he was searching and he found her picture in a book of flight attendants. She was posing with President Kennedy and his wife, and that was one of the 38 witnesses. And so it's pieces of information, and so that's what the animation was, sort of fragments that you put together to create a whole that isn't necessarily an absolute truth. It's a piece of a truth. And that's what, exactly. And so that was the approach, and they're terrific animators, and they did a wonderful job, and they're a very important part of the film.
It took you 10 years to make this film. It's a long time, so you build. How was the relationship built between you and the social actor Bill as a filmmaker?
It's a really good question, and it's a fascinating question for all documentary filmmakers. There is an incredible trust that develops. It's very intimate. It's very, very intimate, the relationship that develops. There's always a tension with your subject. You are controlling your subject by virtue of the fact, in part, by virtue of the fact that you are hoping and wanting it to be on. It doesn't really exist if it's not on film. It's an odd thing. So when a person does something and they do it off film, it didn't really happen in your film. But that's not how life works. And you can't be with a person 24/7. So there's a tension that develops between a person trying to live their own life and a filmmaker trying to make a film. We tried to be as behind Bill as much as possible. I followed Bill into every scene. I'm always behind him. There's only one scene in the film where we're ahead of him. So he set the rules. We tried to respect, in a sense, his rules. But there is an absolute creative collaboration that comes about working with a subject. In this case, I think things that happen in the film probably would not have happened in life had it not been for a filmmaker collaborating with the subject. It's also unusual in this film. Bill narrates the film. It's very unusual for a autobiographical film not to be made by the filmmaker. Usually the filmmaker is narrating his or her own story when it's so autobiographical. Bill is narrating his own story in this telling. And I tried to remove myself as much as possible from the on-screen presence. But at the very beginning, I say it's a film by James Soloman, so the audience knows that Bill Genovese is not making the film. He's making it with a filmmaker.
Okay, last question. Do you have any suggestion for young filmmakers, independent filmmakers?
You know, whenever someone asks me, or I talk to young students, the thing I always say to them is do what keeps you awake. Sometimes, particularly when you're younger, it's hard to feel really awake excited about something. And if you find something that that you're willing to do things, to put yourself at risk, to spend money you shouldn't spend, to stay up all night, do that. That's the advice. Follow what keeps you awake, what you, another way of saying it, what you're passionate about. And also another thing is, sometimes subjects that don't seem like they relate or connect to you actually do. I made a film about a brother who lost his sister, about sibling loss. In the course of making a film about a brother who lost his sister, I lost my own brother. My brother passed away in the making of this film. So sometimes we find that the work we're working on may have no real connection to us, and then suddenly we realize it's deeply resonant with what we're interested or what we're living through. And that's always the struggle, is sort of you get interested in something, but then sometimes it takes another level, a moment in your life when you realize, oh, it really is connecting with who I am or what I'm living through. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.